So I did a little bit of venting last night on Instagram, but So even if you're not familiar with the Sam Tripoli Tinfoil Hat podcast with Owen Benjamin and this whole situation, this video I'm gonna explain how informational control works and gatekeeping and the whole shebang. All right. So Jesus Christ, anybody who listened to that podcast, if you didn't have one hand whacking off and another hand ordering a Domino's pizza, I don't know how the hell you got through that. I couldn't listen to the whole thing. Just straight up, like it was pissing me off way too much. And when I'm making fun of Sam Tripoli as a man, as the chinless beta cuck retard that he is, it's not really about him as a man though, is it? It's really more about the fact that he has this mainstream audience despite the fact that he's useless. Like, I don't give a fuck if he had Ryan Dawson on. Joe Rogan used to tell the truth here and there too. That's what they do. They tell just enough of the truth. You let your guard down and you trust them so that they can continue to manipulate and lie where it counts. Where it counts. Who cares if you know some old conspiracy that doesn't matter anymore? What are you going to do about it? And they know you won't do shit. Apple Podcasts knows you won't do shit with the information Sam Tripoli is giving you. That's why they recommend Sam Tripoli's podcast. All right? And no, we didn't need Dr. Robert Malone on the Joe Rogan Experience to tell us all about that thing. We knew what that was. We didn't need that guy. That's how gatekeeping works, right? Just some points of that podcast though that I couldn't fucking believe. Sam Tripoli acting like, oh, I'm so controversial, I get censored sometimes too. And his big example of the controversial jokes that he gets banned for. Well, I made this joke about how big black guys' dicks are. No shit, that was his controversial joke. How big black? Oh, I'm gonna paint my dick in blackface. Oh, can you believe I said that? Yeah, I fucking can, cause you're a gross little midget. You're a gross little grabbler. Of course you fucking said that. Just so everybody knows, sexual comedy takes no finesse and no skill. Sexual dirty comedy isn't low-hanging fruit. It's fruit that has fallen off of the goddamn tree and is now rotting on the ground. It takes no skill to do that. And also, the blacks don't need you to cuck for them, little worm boy, and tell them how big their dicks are. Fucking weird, gross little... Ugh. And no, Sam Tripoli, you're not banned. Being relegated to different stages because you're not funny isn't the same fucking thing as being persecuted for telling truth in comedy. It's not the same thing. And the big thing that Sam did that pissed me off is all the presupposition. So presupposition is a logical fallacy that's used as a slandering technique. Another slandering technique, logical fallacy, is guilt by association, which I think I've talked about in other videos. Presupposition is basically a loaded question. It's when you say something and you pack into it an assumption of some heinous shit that you're accusing someone of. And sometimes it really takes some skill just to pick out what that assumption is. So the example that Sam did to Owen on that podcast was, hey, now that you're not a hateful bigot towards Jews, how's life treating you? Something like that. It was something like that. Like, embedded in that question is an accusation. All right? I know what the fuck you're doing. I know your little worm tongue mind word games. I know how the fuck they work. And he's acting like Owen crossed some line, making fun of the Jews. And he's using, this is the other thing, man. Sam Tripoli was using the word anti-Semitic as if it actually fucking means something. As if anti-Semitic, let me tell you something about the word anti-Semitic, okay? Anti-Semitic is not a real fucking word outside of the realm of slander. Anti-Semitic as a word was invented to slander people. Why? Semitic is a language family that encompasses Arabic. Palestinians are Semites. So what are they doing? They're conflating the Jewish state, who is actively working to destroy actual Semites, okay, and they're using the word anti-Semitic to obfuscate that reality. So the very people who are claiming to be Semitic, you're being so anti-Semitic, Fucking nobody calls Jews Arabs. Nobody thinks of Jews as Arabs. So for the most part, they don't want to say Jew hate either because it doesn't test well. They need their own word. It's the same shit. It's rebranding. It's rebranding opinions and ideas that they don't like. It's the same shit with AIDS denialism. No. Kerry Mullis, he wasn't a rational man pointing out the fact that there's actually no documented evidence that HIV causes AIDS or that AIDS is even a thing. No. He's not a rational man asking questions. He's an AIDS denialist. It's rebranding. It's spin. That's what they do. They rebrand ideas that they don't like. They slap a fancy name on it that sounds scary. Antisemitic. AIDS denialism. Think about the ultimate word game is Black Lives Matter. Right? Black Lives Matter, which pretty sure wasn't started by blacks, now was it? So why is that a word game? Because what does it sound like if you say you don't like Black Lives Matter? It sounds like you're saying Black Lives don't matter. Do you get it? Do you get the word game? Okay. I know what they're fucking doing. They do it all the time. This is the slander worm tongue game they play. They do it again and again. I don't want to hear shit about Sam Tripoli. Oh, Sam Tripoli, he's recovering. He's had a really hard life, and the drugs and everything. That's the excuse you make for your next door neighbor who can't deliver pizzas anymore because he's down on his luck. It is not the excuse you make for a mainstream comedian with a wide enough audience where even fucking normies know his name. Okay? You hold those people accountable for misleading your friends. So there are two ways that the mainstream informational control matrix will release conspiracies, real conspiracies, to the public, okay? The number one thing that they do is they gatekeep them. So when I say, I'm going to be using the word they a lot, this is who they is, okay? They is anyone who wants to control information and has the means to do that. So the example I always give, Google was never really the best search engine. It might have been for a while there, but that's not why they promoted Google. They promoted Google because it was the most controlled. It had the results that they wanted you to see for any given topic that they wanted to control. So anyone who wants to control information, and believe me, there's a lot of them. If you've ever been cheated on, you know someone who wants to control information, okay? It's very simple. It's the same shit. It's all the same shit that they do. So when they gatekeep, they use approved sources. They use mouthpieces, the Joe Rogans, the Sam Tripolis, the gatekeepers who give you just enough truth to continue to trick you, to gain your trust so that they can continue to lie where it counts. Where does it matter that you know about Epstein? Does that matter? It's breadcrumbing. It's literally the same thing it's narcissistic breadcrumbing. It's pacing and leading too. This is a neurolinguistic programming trick, pacing and leading. So Owen always gave the example of the Me Too movement, how Me Too was, that whole hashtag was founded in a boardroom in CAA. CAA is the agency that represents all of Hollywood. Now, why did they come up with the Me Too movement? Because they needed to release the story of the sexual misconduct allegations in Hollywood before people got the word on the street about it. That's what it's all about. They need you to trust the mainstream media so much so that they will release information that seems to be going against themselves, that seems to be going against Hollywood, just so you don't get that information from the street or from some other unapproved source. Okay, the gatekeeping stuff usually happens when the word is out already, or it's on the street, it's bubbling up, and they have to get out ahead of the narrative to control it. So that you see the same thing happening now with the USS Liberty. Okay, couple things about that. It could be that they're just putting all these poison pills into the way that they're giving you the information about the USS Liberty, so that you don't ask the right questions. It's a trail of breadcrumbs that you're following. But because recently people have been talking about the USS Liberty, And like like normies have been exposed to this conspiracy now because it was, they needed the normies to find out about it from the mainstream sources to keep the trust of the normies. It's bait. So does that mean that Israel and all its tricks are done for? Fuck no. That's why the Epstein shit didn't fucking matter. Do you remember all the boomer normies coming out with their little videos, their little memes? Oh, Epstein didn't kill himself. It doesn't fucking matter that you know that. It doesn't matter. They don't give a fuck. They like that you're distracted by it and you're not fucking doing anything. They like that. So they can keep misleading you where it still matters because they're giving you peppering little truths here and there. That's pacing and leading. It's a way of taking control of the situation. I can give you an example of pacing and leading in your everyday life. All right. So if you've ever been in a relationship with someone who's a piece of shit, and right when you start to maybe pull away a little bit, right when you start maybe a little bit, just a little hesitation, they break off the whole thing. The piece of shit says, you know what? This is over. Why do they do that? To gain control of the situation. They picked up on your signals that you were getting fed up with it, and now you're going, oh no, honey, no, can't we talk it out? I mean, I really like you. I think this was going somewhere. And they have control now. They paced and led you. So they don't want you getting news from outside the mainstream information complex. That's why they will release these stories that seem to not be in their favor because they don't want that loss of trust. And they only release the conspiracy theories that don't matter. All right, so we all saw this with the Epstein shit, USS Liberty stuff now. What are you going to do about it? What are you really going to do about it? Fucking nothing. So, anyway, that podcast was fucking ear cancer. I'm glad I didn't finish it. It's just those little, like I can see what you're doing. I know what you're doing. We all see it. We all see it. That's why the Bears fucking crush, because the Bears don't put up with this nonsense. Like, all right.